There comes a moment in every life when you realize something terrifying. You are no longer in control. Not of your future, not of your emotions, not even of your own mind. For most people, this realization doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives quietly, like a subtle crack forming beneath the surface. For Daniel, that moment came on a cold Thursday night. He was sitting alone at his desk, the room lit only by the pale glow of his laptop screen. Tabs were open, tasks unfinished, emails unanswered, deadlines ignored. His phone buzzed every few minutes, vibrating like a nervous pulse on the edge of the table. But Daniel wasn't tired, he wasn't sick, and he wasn't lazy. He was scattered. His thoughts refused to stay still. Every attempt to focus slipped away like water through open fingers. One notification pulled him sideways, one memory dragged him backward, one random impulse swallowed his attention completely. His mind felt like a broken compass, spinning endlessly, unable to point toward anything meaningful. And that's what scared him. Because Daniel knew what he needed to do. He understood his responsibilities. He understood his goals, but his mind no longer obeyed him. That night, barely louder than a breath, he whispered a sentence that would haunt him for weeks. "I think I'm losing control of myself." What Daniel didn't know, what he couldn't possibly imagine, was that this breakdown would lead him to something ancient, a forgotten system, a mental discipline developed not for productivity, but for survival. Before we go deeper into Daniel's story, let me ask you something. What is the biggest distraction destroying your focus right now? Not the polite answer, the honest one. Because the truth is, your answer matters. Now, let's return to the beginning. Daniel's collapse didn't start dramatically. There was no explosion, no crisis, no single catastrophic failure. It started quietly. A moment of zoning out during a meeting, a message he meant to reply to, but never did, an appointment he forgot, even though he wrote it down. At first, he brushed it off. Everyone gets distracted, right? But the moments became minutes, the minutes became hours, and the hours turned into a fog that swallowed entire days. Every morning, Daniel woke up with determination. "Today, I'll focus," he told himself. But by noon, the morning had vanished. Not because he wasted time intentionally, not because he chose laziness, but because he couldn't hold his attention steady for more than a few seconds. He wasn't living anymore. He was reacting. Notifications dictated his behavior. Random impulses decided his actions. His mind jumped from thought to thought like a frightened animal, never resting, never listening, never obeying. And the people around him noticed. His girlfriend noticed first. She would be talking about her day, something important, something emotional, and halfway through she would stop speaking, not because she was finished, but because Daniel was gone. His eyes glazed over, his attention drifted somewhere she couldn't reach, and then she would say it, softly, calmly, but with words that cut deeper than anger ever could. "You're here, but you're not really here." Daniel didn't argue. He couldn't. At work, things got worse. He had always been sharp, quick thinking, the potential guy, the one people expected great things from. Now he struggled with basic tasks. He reread the same paragraph 5 times. He missed deadlines he had carefully noted. He opened a file, blinked, and somehow ended up scrolling social media without remembering how he got there. He felt trapped, like a passenger locked inside his own skull. His boss tried to be patient, but patience eventually turns into disappointment. One afternoon, after yet another mistake, his boss closed the office door and spoke quietly. "Daniel, you're talented." Pause. But talent without attention becomes nothing. Those words didn't feel like criticism. They felt like truth. Daniel walked home that evening with a heavy pressure in his chest. Not sadness, fear. The fear that something inside him was slipping away. It wasn't motivation he lacked. It wasn't intelligence. It was control. The ability to direct his mind rather than being dragged by it. And that loss of control was terrifying. So Daniel did what everyone does. He tried to fix it. Pomodoro timers, productivity hacks, meditation apps, cold showers, journaling, focus blockers, coffee strong enough to feel like jet fuel. Each solution worked for a day, maybe two. Then the chaos returned, stronger than before. Every failure bruised him, and every bruise whispered the same lie: "You're broken." One night, staring at a half-finished project, Daniel realized something disturbing. He couldn't remember what he had been thinking just 1 minute earlier. That was the moment fear turned into desperation, because for the first time, he wondered, if the problem isn't the world, what if the problem is my mind? He opened his laptop and searched relentlessly. Why can't I focus anymore? How do I control my mind? Ancient methods for discipline. How did warriors train attention? Most results felt empty. Modern advice, quick fixes, surface-level tricks. Until one phrase stopped him. Shinobi no kokoro, the mind of the shadow. A mental training system developed in medieval Japan, not for productivity, but for survival. Something stirred inside him, a small spark. Daniel didn't understand it yet, but this forgotten shinobi discipline would rebuild his mind, piece by piece. And that is where his real journey began.
Daniel didn't know what he expected when he sent that message. Maybe silence, maybe a polite refusal, maybe nothing at all. But the reply arrived within minutes. Short, direct, unsettling. If you truly wish to understand the shinobi mind, come this Sunday. No expectations, come empty. Those last two words stayed with him all week. Come empty. How do you come empty when your head feels crowded with noise, pressure, and unfinished thoughts? By Sunday morning, Daniel wasn't even sure why he was going. Hope, desperation, instinct, maybe all three. The cultural center was a place he had passed countless times but never entered. Inside, everything felt different. No rushing footsteps, no phone sounds, no urgency. Just stillness. He was guided through a narrow hallway and into a small garden behind the building. There, sitting alone on a wooden bench, was an elderly man. He didn't stand, he didn't smile, he didn't introduce himself. He simply looked at Daniel. Not at him, through him. The man's presence felt heavy, not intimidating, but grounded, like a mountain that didn't need to prove its strength. A bamboo fountain tapped softly nearby. Tap, 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 like a heartbeat. A full minute passed without a word. Daniel felt exposed, as if every distracted thought, every half-finished task, every silent fear was visible. Finally, the man spoke. "Your mind is too loud." It wasn't a question. It wasn't an accusation. It was a diagnosis. Daniel swallowed. The man gestured toward the bench. Daniel sat. "Tell me," the man said calmly, "when did your mind stop listening to you?" Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. How do you explain something like that? There was no single moment, no clear breaking point, just a slow collapse. I can't focus," Daniel said. "My thoughts jump. I start things but can't finish them. I feel like my mind pulls me in 10 directions at once." The man nodded. "Distraction is not your enemy," he said. Daniel frowned. "Then what is?" "Your attachment to distraction." Daniel didn't understand. "I want control," he said. "Total focus. That's why I'm here." The old man shook his head slowly. "Control is not the beginning," he replied. "Control is the reward." He reached into his robe and placed a thin notebook between them. Its cover was plain, marked only with simple Japanese characters. Before you learn the shinobi mind, you must release the mind you cling to now. Daniel picked up the notebook. The characters read, Jinshin Shusei Jutsu, the art of a quiet mind. He opened it. Every page was blank. Daniel looked up, confused. The old man smiled, just slightly. "This is not a book," he said. "It is a mirror. Everything that ruins your focus will appear inside it." Daniel flipped through the pages again, still empty. "Before you fill a page, you must learn how to empty one." The old man stood. "Tomorrow, your training begins." The first exercise felt almost insulting. The man, Master Hayato Ishikawa, placed a small stone in Daniel's hand. "Hold it," he said. "That's it?" Daniel asked. "Hold it," Hayato repeated. Daniel stood in the garden, resting in his palm. At first, it felt pointless, then uncomfortable, then unbearable. His mind screamed, "This is stupid. This isn't helping. I should be doing something productive." Every few seconds, his attention drifted. Hayato watched silently. After 60 seconds, Daniel dropped the stone. His hand felt tense. His mind felt exhausted. "You failed," Daniel said. Hayato shook his head. "No," he replied. "You noticed." Daniel didn't understand. A distracted man who doesn't notice his distraction is lost. A man who sees his distraction has already begun to return. They repeated the exercise, again and again. Each time, Daniel lasted a few seconds longer. But something more important happened. For the first time in years, he noticed his mind wandering in real time. Not afterwards, not with regret, but in the moment. That night, Daniel returned home feeling strange, not energized, not inspired, but aware. He sat alone in his apartment and realized something unsettling. The noise wasn't outside, it was inside him, and he had been running from it for years. The next day, Hayato showed him a simple ink painting, a single bamboo stalk against empty space. "Look," Hayato said. "What do you see?" "A bamboo," Daniel replied. Hayato shook his head. "No, you see your idea of bamboo." Daniel frowned. A shinobi does not focus on concepts, he focuses on reality. He instructed Daniel to observe the painting again. This time, he had to describe every detail out loud. The thickness of the brush strokes, the angle of the leaves, the empty space surrounding the image. At first, his mind resisted. Then something happened. It couldn't wander. It had nowhere to escape. Reality held it in place. Distraction lives in imagination. Focus lives in the present. By sunset, Daniel felt different. The world seemed sharper, quieter, as if someone had cleaned the lens of his perception. But Hayato wasn't impressed. "This is only the surface," he said. "Your real test begins tomorrow." Daniel nodded. He had no idea how true that was. Daniel believed the hardest part was over. He was wrong. The third day exposed something far more dangerous than distraction: self-doubt. It arrived quietly, disguised as realism. By the morning, Daniel felt confident. He had followed the exercises. He had stayed present longer than before. He told himself, "I'm changing." By afternoon, that belief cracked. During a simple task, his mind slipped again. A notification pulled him. A thought derailed him. 10 minutes vanished without warning. The old frustration returned, stronger. He froze. "I failed already," he thought. "Maybe I'm not built for this." That evening, Daniel sat across from Hayato on the wooden floor. His shoulders were heavy, his gaze lowered. "Sensei," he said quietly, "I failed too fast. I thought I was improving." Hayato poured tea slowly. Steam rose from the cup like a slow breath. He placed it in front of Daniel. "Look at this cup," Hayato said. Daniel looked. There was a thin crack along the rim. A faint golden line filled it. "Do you see perfection?" Hayato asked. Daniel shook his head. "This cup has broken many times," Hayato said. "Each time it was repaired, not to hide the break, but to honor it." He turned the cup slightly. "The crack shows where the stress traveled. It reveals the structure." Daniel felt his chest tighten. "Your mind is the same," Hayato continued. "It cracks under pressure. But cracks are not failure. They are information." Hayato leaned forward. "When you became distracted today," he asked, "did you enjoy it?" Daniel swallowed. "No, I hated it." Hayato nodded. "That hatred is awareness," he said, "and awareness is the doorway back." Daniel looked up. "What should I do now?" Hayato didn't hesitate. "You will repeat the 60-second drill tonight." Daniel frowned. "But the day is already ruined." Hayato tapped the floor twice. "A shinobi does not wait for a new day," he said. "He reclaims this one." Something shifted inside Daniel. Not motivation, relief. Hayato continued. "Discipline is not doing things perfectly," he said. "It is returning quickly." He paused. "Your strength is not measured by how long you stay focused, but by how fast you come back." That night, Daniel tried again. He failed and returned. He failed again and returned again. Each return felt slightly easier, not because distraction disappeared, but because shame lost its grip. The following morning, Hayato led Daniel to the far end of the garden. An ink painting hung on a wooden wall, a single bamboo stalk, empty space around it. "Today," Hayato said, "you will learn the first shinobi principle." Daniel stood still. "Kage no me," Hayato said, "the shadow eye." "It is not about effort," it said. "It is about seeing reality as it is." Hayato instructed Daniel to observe the painting again. But this time, he wasn't allowed to describe it from memory. He had to see it. The smallest details, the uneven pressure of the brush, the way empty space framed the form. Daniel spoke slowly. At first, his voice trembled, then steadied. Minutes passed. Something strange happened. Time felt different. There was no urge to escape, no need for stimulation. Only presence. Hayato nodded. "Your mind wanders when it lives in imagination, but reality anchors it." That afternoon, Hayato introduced darkness. The room was dimly lit, lanterns extinguished one by one. Train where the eyes lose power and the mind becomes honest. In the darkness, Daniel felt exposed. Without visuals, his thoughts became louder. But instead of resisting, he observed. Shapes moved in the dark of his awareness. Fears surfaced. Memories arose. He didn't chase them. He didn't push them away. He stayed. For the first time, Daniel experienced something unfamiliar. Stillness. Not emptiness. Presence. That night, walking home, Daniel realized something unsettling. He had spent years running from silence because silence forced him to face himself. And now, slowly, he was learning how to stay. But growth is never linear. The next day, Daniel broke again. His attention collapsed during training. Frustration surged. He slammed the notebook shut. "I'm wasting time," he muttered. Hayato heard him. "Good," Hayato said calmly. Daniel looked up, confused. "Why is that good?" "Because now the mind is exposed. The mask has fallen." He placed the notebook back in Daniel's hands.
"You are here not to become productive," he said. "You are here to become honest." Daniel felt the truth land. This wasn't about focus, it was about identity. And Hayato was about to push him deeper, much deeper.
Daniel didn't realize it yet, but the training was no longer about focus. It was about who he believed he was. That morning, Hayato didn't bring exercises. No stone, no ink painting. Instead, he asked a question. Who are you when no one is watching? Daniel hesitated. I'm trying to improve, he said. Hayato shook his head. That is an activity, he replied, not an identity. He gestured toward the garden. Walk, Hayato said, and do not speak. They walked slowly between the bamboo stalks, every step deliberate, every movement quiet. After several minutes, Hayato stopped. You chase discipline, he said, but discipline does not chase you back. Daniel listened carefully. You act disciplined, Hayato continued, only when you feel motivated, inspired, or threatened. Daniel's chest tightened. Hayato turned. That is not discipline, he said. That is emotion. Daniel felt exposed. Then what is discipline? He asked. Hayato paused. Discipline is identity, he said. It is who you are when the mood disappears. They sat near a stone basin. Water reflected the sky. Most men, Hayato said, try to change behavior. He dipped his fingers into the water. But Shinobi change self-image. The water rippled. Behavior follows identity, he continued, always. Daniel thought about his past, every habit he failed to keep, every promise broken, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't see himself as the man who follows through. Hayato spoke again. Tell me, he said, when you fail, who do you become? Daniel swallowed. A quitter, he said quietly. Hayato nodded. And that is why you repeat the pattern. The words hit hard. Hayato leaned forward. Today, he said, we destroy that identity. The exercise was simple, dangerously simple. Hayato gave Daniel one rule. Choose one action, he said. Something small, something boring, something unimpressive. Daniel waited. Do it every day, Hayato continued, whether you feel like it or not. What if I miss a day? Daniel asked. Hayato looked at him sharply. Then you return the next day, he said, without guilt, without drama. Daniel felt something click. No punishment, no shame, just return. This is how identity changes, Hayato said, not through intensity, but through proof. That night, Daniel chose his action. 10 minutes of silent sitting. No phone, no music, just presence. The first night was unbearable. The second night felt slightly less hostile. By the fourth night, something changed. He didn't feel proud. He felt normal, like this was simply what he did. Hayato noticed. You are no longer trying, he said one morning. You are becoming. Then came resistance, subtle, internal. A voice appeared. You've done enough. You can skip today. You're already better than before. Daniel felt it during the 7th day, the temptation to relax, to reward himself, to break the chain. He told Hayato. Hayato smiled. Good, he said. That voice means the old identity is dying. Daniel frowned. It doesn't feel like progress. It never does, Hayato replied. Identity resists replacement. He pointed toward the bamboo. Growth is quiet. Ego is loud. That night, Daniel sat anyway. No inspiration, no excitement, just choice. And for the first time, discipline didn't feel like effort. It felt like alignment. A week later, Hayato tested him. Without warning, he changed the schedule. Exercises were delayed, silence extended, comfort removed. Daniel felt irritation rise, but something surprising happened. He didn't break, he adjusted. Later, Hayato spoke. Old you needed structure to survive. New you creates structure. Daniel realized something profound. He wasn't becoming disciplined. He was becoming someone who doesn't negotiate with himself. And that scared him, because it meant there was no one left to blame. That evening, Daniel stood alone in the garden. The notebook rested in his hands. He opened it. For the first time, he wrote something. Not a goal, not a quote, a statement. I am the kind of man who returns. The words felt heavy, permanent. Hayato read it silently. He nodded once. Good, he said. Now we begin the real work.
The real test never announces itself. It arrives disguised as comfort. Daniel felt it the next morning. Nothing was wrong. No crisis, no pressure. And that was the danger. The discipline he had built now felt optional. No urgency, no fear. Just the quiet voice inside him whispering, "You've earned a break." Daniel sat with that thought. It didn't feel lazy. It felt reasonable. That's how temptation works. It doesn't attack. It negotiates. Hayato noticed Daniel's hesitation during training. "You are thinking too much," he said. "I feel stable," Daniel replied, "like I don't need to push today." Hayato nodded slowly. "This is the moment most men collapse," he said. Daniel looked up. "Not when life is hard," Hayato continued, "but when life becomes easy." He gestured toward the empty garden. "When discipline becomes a choice," Hayato said, "identity is tested." That afternoon, Hayato gave no instructions, no schedule, no exercise, just silence. Daniel felt exposed. Without structure, his old patterns tried to return, the urge to scroll, to drift, to escape stillness. He sat alone, watching the sun move. Minutes felt longer. The internal dialogue grew louder. "You can stop now. You've proven enough. No one is watching." Daniel closed his eyes. Then he remembered the sentence in his notebook, "I am the kind of man who returns." He didn't feel strong. He felt calm. And calm made the choice clear. He sat, not because he had to, because it was who he was becoming. That night, Hayato spoke softly. "Ego hates consistency," he said. "It survives on intensity." Daniel listened carefully. "You used to act only when emotions were high, motivation, fear, shame." He poured tea. "Discipline ignores emotion," he said. "It obeys identity." Daniel felt the truth settle. This wasn't about winning battles. It was about ending the war. The next test was cruel. Hayato assigned Daniel a task he couldn't complete. No matter how focused he was, it would fail. Daniel tried anyway, again and again. Frustration rose. The old reflex appeared. Why bother? Hayato stopped him. "What are you feeling?" he asked. "Anger. Failure." Hayato nodded. "Good," he said. "Now observe it." Daniel stood still. He watched the sensations, the tight chest, the heat behind the eyes. He didn't react. He didn't suppress. He stayed. Minutes passed. The emotion weakened. Hayato spoke. "This is the final illusion," he said, "that discipline means control." Daniel looked up. Discipline is not control. It is non-reaction. Daniel felt something unlock. For the first time, emotions didn't command him. They passed through, like weather. Later that evening,
Hayato took Daniel to the edge of the garden. The city lights flickered beyond the wall. Most people think discipline is force, Hayato said, but force breaks. He looked at Daniel. Shinobi discipline bends. Daniel realized something terrifying. This meant there was no dramatic moment, no finish line, no applause, just repetition. Forever. And strangely, that felt freeing.